Okay, we are live. I'm going to call the meeting to order. At this time, I'd like to remind council and municipal staff that this meeting is being live streamed to the public. All council meetings are also recorded. Recordings will be available to the public on the township's YouTube account. Physical attendance of the public at this meeting is restricted due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This meeting is held electronically under bylaw 2020-70 to amend procedural bylaw 2018-117, pursuant to section 238 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended. We'll start with the adoption of the agenda for Tuesday, September 1st, 2020. The recommendation is that the council and committee agenda for Tuesday, September 1st, 2020 be accepted as presented. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Poplinski, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. All those in favor? And that's carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest?
None.
I'm seeing none. Next, we'll move on to delegations and subcommittees. This morning, we have Mark Snyder of Algonquin Heights Lakeside Community regarding a conceptual site plan for parkland. Good morning, Mr. Snyder.
Good morning.
Would you like to speak to council on this site plan?
Sure, thank you. I assume you've all seen a copy of the site plan that I circulated, and a few things have happened since then that I want to bring you up to date on. First, as some background, the parkland we're speaking of was conveyed to the municipality through the registration of the plan of subdivision back in 1987. It was conveyed as Block 30 for parkland purposes. I have gone through, excuse me, I've gone through some of the past minutes where the options for the parkland were discussed, and tried to get up to speed with some of the history there. I've also met with the neighbors, Ian Williams and Megan Clark, who are on the north side, and Tom Smith on the south side. And I've walked the property with both of them independently, but walked the alignment and tried to get a handle on the topography and the the water course that runs through the land. Tom's actually a retired MNRF employee, and just for background, I'm a professional land use planner, and I used to work for a conservation authority and looked after the regulations and planning approvals for the conservation authority in back in the 90s. So dealing with water courses and so on, that's part of my background. I've also consulted my brother, who's a professional landscape architect and the director of recreation and cultural services out in Courtenay, British Columbia, on some alternatives for the path. And I should back up too and say that my main objective here is just to help the marketability of these interior lots. There's 13 in the plan, and over the last 33 years, not one of those interior lots has been bought. And I think part of the reason why is that this parkland was set aside for access purposes, but with no improvement. Right now, if you were to try to walk it, it's very thick, it's wet underfoot, and it's not very desirable to try to walk to the shore. So that has not helped the marketing efforts at all. So I see that as a key part of my efforts in marketing these lots. Excuse me. And so since I sent that site plan out, I've had further discussions with the neighbors, and I met with Martin Walsh, who you probably know, a local contractor. I found out that Martin actually built the road in here. And so we looked at some options for how best to create this path. And with that in mind, with his advice and with discussions I've had with Hillary and reading his report, I know the municipality's desire is to see whatever is done to be low maintenance, ideally not constructed of wood that may have to be replaced in the future. That was one of the ideas I had early, was to have a boardwalk to ride over those saturated parts of the land, because the stream does not have a defined channel. It doesn't have a defined course. Looking at it again with the neighbors, it actually wanders all over the place. It does wander onto Tom's property at one point, It wanders over onto Ian Williams' property on the north side. The previous owner before Ian had actually constructed a berm to try to deflect the water from going onto his lands toward the house. And so if you can't ride over the wet areas and the rubble and rocks that are down there with a boardwalk, again, in talking with Martin, we kind of came to the conclusion, as did the neighbors when we've discussed with them, that the only way forward really is to give the water course a defined channel. So what we're looking at now is excavating out a channel with a 3-to-1 slope where possible, and put in some geotextile material, and then line it with riprap lining. That's kind of fist-sized stones to have the water follow that channel and construct it in a way that it limits any potential for erosion or sedimentation downstream. So we would have to have some flexibility in how we align it. I'd like it to have a bit of a natural feel to it. So we may go around some of the more, there's not many mature trees, but to go around them and give it, rather than a straight channel, more of a meander, and maybe even some pools and riffles, and add the odd boulder in there just for an aesthetic. And then where it's excavated out, we'd place it on the other side of the kind of a platform for the mini excavator, and that becomes a high and dry platform for the pathway down. And the rest of the elements of the park improvements that I've suggested, I'm hoping to move forward with it as well. A bit of a shore activity area down near the shore, but provided there's a bit of a vegetated buffer of about 10 meters near the shore, with a break only for an access to the waterfront, and possibly a picnic table and maybe a rack for canoes and kayaks. One of the previous lakeside communities we developed, that was brought in, and so some of the interior lot owners can keep a canoe down there or kayak. And so I think it worked out really well, and that's what I'm hoping to do here. So where you see on the plan wood step boardwalks, that would be replaced with a slightly elevated pathway beside the water course. And where there's a bit of a drop, instead of wood steps, I discussed with Martin the idea of placing stone steps there. And he was fairly confident that he could do a good job in having the steps placed appropriately for access down there. What I'd like to do initially, if I could, is, with your permission, to brush it out, just to get a better feel for where the alignment would be. And ideally we would then pull the brush up and chip it, and so it's a neater area without brush piles along the sides. So I had a brief chat with Hillary about this game plan tomorrow. Yesterday we had a chat about this, but we're really hoping to have some flexibility moving forward, with those general ideas being brought in to define the water course, a low maintenance dry path, and some buffer on the sides for the neighbors, and a vegetated buffer near the shore for protection of the lake. And so anything we do, we will do with due diligence to make sure that erosion and sedimentation are dealt with rock flow check dams or sediment curtains and so on. This isn't a fish-bearing stream. It's dry right now. And so I guess the last point I'd like to make is that time is really critical to get this done now during the drier season, because come the spring, we're going to have to wait several months, if not until about this time next year, to complete the work. Martin has some capacity this fall if we can move forward with this and make it happen. So that's generally the plan. The neighbors are completely on side. They're great people. I've had good discussions with them, and they're in agreement that this is a good way forward for the path. So yeah, I'd welcome any questions I've said a lot there, so if there's anything you want me to further explain, I can do that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Snyder. So basically, at this point, you're just looking for permission from council to proceed with placing the waterway in a clear path from the culvert to the lake, and then having the ability to develop and build the path that would be the walkway, and a bit of clearing of the trees that would be needed to be removed.
That's right. And sorry, what's that?
I've said, so there's three things to be able to clear the trees you need to remove, develop the path for the water, and then the path for the walkway.
That's right.
Okay, just I'm trying to make sure I get everything. So
Okay.
Council, do you have any questions for Mr. Snyder at this point? Councilor Kaplinski.
Yes, thanks, Mary Love. I was just wondering if we could hear from Mr. Koshkowski on his opinion of this proposal, and I'd be more than happy to comment then later, but I would like to hear from Hillary.
Okay, so I will ask Mr. Koshkowski to speak to it if he wouldn't mind.
Yeah, this was laid out intentionally in 1985. I'd say 1985, 1989 was also referenced. It was laid out for this purpose, for a walking path. And I believe that it actually served another purpose for drainage easement. There's a rather large culvert there. I would estimate it to be about 2 feet. And I believe in the spring, there would be a lot of snow melt and it would be surging through that. So I think it was meant for two purposes, drainage and a walkway path, which was identified in the original agreement to serve most likely the back lots and also drainage.
Mm-hmm.
So it is there and it is written up like that.
Okay, do you have any concerns with what Mr. Snyder is proposing in terms of channeling the water for the drainage?
It would make sense to try and contain it within the 30 feet. Because we've had other issues in the past where it meanders all over the place, and under the Drainage Act, it is meant to be channeled to a clear path. And if it is meandering on other people's properties, it should be rectified. So we don't run it.
So what
now's
he's
the proper time.
Okay, so what he's proposing would actually facilitate that as well as then make it more viable to put a walking path in place.
Correct. You could actually eliminate a lot of crossovers. If you can define the drainage easement to one side or the other, then you don't need these walkways and boardwalks or whatever. Wood, and we're trying to get away from wood.
Yes. Okay, Councilor Kaplinski, did you want to comment then?
No, I think that's really good information. And I think that's all we needed to hear to help us make a decision. I think we have to see what we can do to accommodate Mr. Snyder, because I think this plan has been in the works a long time. I think it would be very beneficial to have this work done. I would just like to see, Hillary and of course, be very involved as this proceeds. And I would certainly support the initiative. It's just, I think we do need to stay on top of it and work along with Mr. Snyder to make sure that it works out the best for everyone. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other member of council, any questions or comments at this point? Councilor Schulis.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. When you're talking about, we would like to do some work on municipal property, which it is our property. I've walked that piece of ground, so I sort of know a little bit of the history of it. But if somebody else does work on our property, my concern is liability, or how is this going to be handled? Sorry.
Mr. Snyder, did you want to speak to that?
Sure. That's basically, I could go to my insurer and add the municipality is additionally insured for this work. If you have any instructions on how you want the insurance provided, I can. And then, of course, the contractors we're talking about would be fully insured contractors as well.
Okay, thank you. And I think the last time we did speak about this possibility, we did speak to there needing to be some liability insurance carried by Mr. Snyder in order to just indemnify the municipality while the work was being done.
Mhm.
Okay, so you're good with that, I believe?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, any other questions, comments from council? Councillor Bronwich.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I think anything we can do to help Mr. Schneider get these lots active again and develop this subdivision would be in the best interest of both Mr. Schneider and his consorts and ourselves. As far as tax levies go, it's to increase our economic development of our township. So I'm all in favor of it. And sounds like Mr. Schneider is very conscious of the environmental concerns that may be raised here. So I have complete confidence that this would go down very well. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Sue, at this point, did you want to, if council has no further questions or comments, did you want us to move on to the second item, which is then going to be a recommendation? And I'm wondering if you need to amend the recommendation based on what Mr. Schneider's just presented to us, which is subtly different from what we looked at in our agenda package. Sue?
Yes, I would need council clarification. So the first part of the resolution is that you accept in principle and following discussions of the change, you accept in principle Mr. Snyder's proposal, and that the costs associated with the brushing and the materials as previously proposed will be borne by Mr. Snyder. Following the discussion about the drainage, I would have to add that council is approving, and this would be up to the operations manager, would be approving an allotted amount because there would be cost if we are doing some work pertaining to the redirection of that drainage, I believe. Hillary, is that correct?
Correct. Yes, there would be costs involved with the drainage swale.
So I do believe following a brief meeting with Hillary this morning, he was reviewing our budget allocation for drainage. Some of those projects are already in play. I don't have an additional budget for that, but I do think the operations manager was looking at what was remaining, and was there an amount that you were hoping would be able to be used towards this?
Yes, so we have, I spoke with the supervisor this morning and he mentioned 2 roads and that's scheduled for fall. So if council chooses to allot some money, I would recommend not go into clear-cut partnership with Mr. Schneider, but a allotted amount. And to me, reasonable allotted amount would be in the range of around $2,000 for the up to 2,000.
Mr. Koshkowski, could I get you to explain what it is you'd anticipate paying for out of that money?
The drainage swale.
So the construction of it, or to have our municipal engineer ensure that is it for the municipal engineer or is it for the actual construction of a drainage swale?
For
'Cause I
the
thought
digging,
Mr. Schneider was
yeah.
willing to do that.
For the excavating of it.
Okay, have I misunderstood? Mr. Schneider isn't going to do that?
He will do some of it.
So you want to assist with the project?
It would seem reasonable at this time.
Okay, so you're suggesting that the municipality commit up to $2,000 to assist with the modifications to the drainage swale? Have I captured that correctly?
Correct.
Okay, so Mr. Snyder, are you okay with the municipality contributing up to $2,000 towards that project and you covering any other costs above and beyond that?
Yes, I would. I appreciate any involvement and assistance from the municipality. I anticipate the cost would be at least 10 times that amount. I would, from discussions with Martin Walsh, I believe the costs are going to well exceed $20,000 to do all this. And I am willing to do this, and as much help as I can get, because we are dealing with municipal land, a municipal park, and municipal related drainage issues. So 2,000 is a help, but it's any further help, maybe in-kind help with staff and equipment. I'm not sure, but I have to be careful with the budget here, because you know, I just have to do what's reasonable in terms of keeping costs in check, but meeting the objective of trying to improve the access to the lakefront for these lot owners.
Okay, so Mr. Koshkowski, could you work with Mr. Schneider to see if there is any in-kind assistance that the municipality could provide? I'm not sure what that would look like.
It definitely wouldn't be an equipment, because we don't have anything that can go up that.
Yeah.
So in kind would, like, I don't know what you're referencing, Mark. In kind.
Well, we have to play it a bit by ear as we go, but there may be opportunities to work together, and not just beyond. Like, I understand that when it comes to the excavation equipment, we would have an insured contractor do the work, but maybe other like if costs are getting high through the work, then I may have to back off on some of the other things I had hoped to do on the park, like providing a couple of picnic tables, and those are pretty minor though, really. I mean, I want to be reasonable. So just, I don't know, based on what Martin said, and this was kind of a ballpark figure, we're going about 500 feet. He thought the costs for creating the swale would be about $15,000. And this is, again, nothing in writing. It was just a rough estimate. And then as we talked about creating the platform for the path, that's kind of incidental to doing the ditching anyway. And we'd run the geotextile right over where the path would go and construct it all at the same time. But when you talk about placing stone steps down, that's where the costs are going to go up a bit more. And I'd like to have, you know, a group of arborists come in. I've talked to one contractor that can, again, they're a good insured local contractor, to clear the brush and chip it and remove it. That's going to add to the cost as well. That's why I'm figuring the costs are likely going to exceed 20,000. And again, this is to my benefit in marketing these lots. Maybe one thing I would add is right now, those lots average about $200 in taxes. And for 33 years, the municipality's been maintaining that road at a cost. And actually, just before the meeting here, I got another offer on a lot. That's 2 in a week, and I'm expecting a third one later this week. So the ideal is a year or 2 from now, you start getting building permits and a new home and a whole new community is being created here. And the assessment will go up significantly once these are not wooded vacant lots, but rather homes and a new community being formed. Then you're going to be looking at least $25,000, $27,000 more in assessment. So that's good for me with the sales, and it's really good for the municipality as well, long term, looking after some of these costs. So that's a long answer, but if there's any way we can cost share further on, especially the drainage related issues, that would be very much appreciated.
Okay, thank you. I think council's challenge here is that our budget was set long ago for this year. And so we are, Mr. Koshkowski is literally looking to eke something out within a budget that didn't contain this project. But would it be, Mr. Koshkowski, could we ask you and Mr. Schneider to have further discussions about any way that the municipality could provide in-kind assistance to help offset some of those costs? And then again, I recognize as well, you have to deal with, staff have other things that they obviously have a plan to do and other projects to complete. But if we could have you just have further discussion, you may hit on something that would assist with this project to get it to completion in a more cost-effective manner.
Yes.
Okay, is that all right, Mr. Schneider? For now, we would I'll ask council if they in the motion if they want to commit $2,000 towards the project, plus any in-kind that Mr. Koshkowski can, is able to deliver to you to complete the project.
So that's good. Yeah, I'm fine with that. And really, the push right now is to get the drainage swale improved before the end of the fall season, and then so that's this fiscal year for you, and maybe we can look at other improvements in the next calendar year. So that's fine. Right now, it's mainly about getting the water course improvements and the pathway laid down while things are dry.
Absolutely, and I can see where getting that done in the fall would mean that you would have an opportunity in the spring to make sure that what you've done worked and the water actually flowed where you wanted it to flow.
Right.
Okay. Council, do you have any further comments, questions, any discussion on this at this point? Everyone's had all their questions. Oh, Councillor Poplinsky.
Yes, thanks, Mary Love. I don't have any further comments other than the fact that I think this is the prudent way of proceeding with this. And I think that the idea of $2,000, I'm prepared to support that. And perhaps there could be something in kind. And once again, we're, getting down to the end of, and dealing with budget and so on, that's already been taken care of. However, I think we could find the $2,000 somewhere, and then we'll deal with the issues as they happen in the new year. But because I think we need to work together to get this accomplished. And this is how I see it moving forward at this time. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. I guess at this point then, what I need is a recommendation for council so that we can support it too.
I do have a recommendation for council. I just want clarification. My recommendation deals specifically with the walking path and addressing the drainage in the swale. It does not reference anything with the parkland, with at the bottom. Because
Okay.
what I'm hearing is that is at this point, what is the urgency? Unless council wants me to include the park.
Okay, I think at this point, if we could get the drainage swale and the path work done through this block, that would be the most important thing. And council would like you to capture that we would commit $2,000 plus, I don't know, how do we capture in kind, plus staff will work for any in kind opportunities. Can we capture that in the resolution? I think that gets us started, Mr. Schneider, and as you say, you're not sure what you'll find when you get there, so we need to maintain an open mind here.
Right. No, that's good.
Okay, Sue, do you have something for us? Sorry,
I
I'm putting you
do.
on the spot.
No, that's okay, I do. That the committee and council recommend to council to accept the proposal for improvements to block 30 of the subdivision agreement registered plan 549, October 1989, to allow for a public walking path to Trout Lake. And that acceptance of the proposal is conditional to Mr. Snyder providing a certificate of insurance for the period of the works being performed, an agreement between the operations manager and Mr. Snyder, the type of materials to be utilized for the stairs, and that the costs associated with the brushing and materials required for the walking path be borne by Mr. Snyder as initially proposed, and staff provide in-kind assistance, and that council approve the use of up to $2,000 from the drainage budget to be reallocated towards the construction and excavating of a drainage swale.
Okay. Council, you've heard the recommendation. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Bromwich, seconded by Councillor Schulis. Is there any discussion on the recommendation? Okay, I'm seeing none. All those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, Mr. Schneider, hopefully we can get started shortly. We'll have you work with Mr. Koshkowski and Mr. Phillips, our operations supervisor, and let's hope everything goes well and the project proves to be a little more cost effective.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate your attendance, and you've certainly made it very clear to us what needs to be done.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
We'll let Sue, or not Sue, Gwen, be able to let him out of the meeting. I don't know how that works. Okay, so in effect, we've covered 4.2 as well through this process. So at this point in our agenda, we're going to move into our standing committees, and I'm going to turn it over to Chair Bromwich, who is Operations, Roads, and Waste Management.
Thank you through you, Chair, and it's good to be back in normal procedure here. Looking forward to continuing. We have municipal reports here, item 5.1.1, 5.1.2, and 5.1.3. The initial one, 5.1.1 on page 29, report from our operations manager about surplus equipment. And I'll let you talk on that if you could, please, Hillary. Thank you.
We have 2 trucks deemed surplus. One's at the Barclay waste site and the other one's at Yard 1. So we should get rid of them. And I will work with Corey. I believe he has some surplus equipment further down the line, and we'll be able to put that out together and work together, and it should go in one file. So we will create that, and of course I put in highest tender, not necessarily accepted. That's in case someone puts in for $50. You'll get more in scrap metal if you have to. Okay, so those 2 units, one's at Barclay and one's at Yard. The one at the Yard is sitting outside, and we're gonna get rid of the stuff. We don't use them, and they can't meet the safety checks.
And we need money. Thank you very much, Hillary. Item 5.1.2, off-road vehicle amendment. That's on page, sorry. I was wondering if I could wait till the end of this to ask Sue if she would read the recommendations.
For ease and minute taking, could we do the recommendations following each report?
Okay, would you please read the first recommendation for me, if you wouldn't mind, Sue?
Yes, please. That council and committee recommend to council that Unit 20 International Tandem Truck and Unit number 21 1995 Single Axle Truck be deemed surplus to the needs of the township and direct staff to tender for the sale of these units.
Also move that. And do we have a seconder? Councillor Wilmer. Any discussion by council? And that's all in favor then? And that's carried. Thank you. Item 5.1.2, off-road vehicle amendment, ORV. We have a recommendation to accept this as information. Would you please enlighten us on page 31 to 42, Hillary? Thank you.
So, yeah, my thing is on. January 1st, there's 2 types of bikes, or whatever you want to call them, are allowed under our bylaw, existing bylaw, or ATV bylaw. Those are the one's kind of like a Argo unit with the big kind of rubber tires, them 6 tires or 8 tires, and dirt bikes. If you don't put in a bylaw to prohibit or restrict, it'll automatically come into effect. Or you can choose to create a bylaw July something to allow them from now to moving forward. So I thought you might as well just choose and let it play itself out. It'll tie into our bylaw January 1st to allow these.
There's a lot on the road right now anyway, so I think we need a bylaw to cover ourselves, don't we? To tie into this, and I would be all in favor of putting a bylaw together to accept these on a road, so we're legal. To you, Mayor Love.
Thank you, Chair. So we have a bylaw currently that allows for off-road vehicles to use our municipal roads. If we do nothing, starting January 1st, 2021, these additional vehicles will be able to use our roads as well. We don't have to change anything.
Okay.
It will just automatically happen under, I think I don't know if it's the Traffic Act or something, I've forgotten, but it will automatically happen. However, if we wanted to allow them today, we would have to have a bylaw today to cover that period from now to January 1st. So I don't have a concern with not doing that, but I would like us to perhaps let the Renfrew County ATV Club know that they will be allowed as of January 1st, 2021, just so they're aware that we're not going to make an immediate change if that's what council decides.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. And to you, Councillor Poplinski.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chair. I think there's, yeah, we need to do something, but just a few points, if you could bear with me. I think there's a lot of safety concerns that I have, and I think that there's a way we can deal with this. I think there should be a public education as well. As we're changing, I think we should be, Mayor Love has referenced the ATV groups. I think we should have them as part of the discussion at this stage as moving forward, because we don't want to be passing bylaws that are not going to work out for them, because they're the ones that are bringing in a lot of tourist dollars into the area. And I can see this even getting even greater. So let's engage them. I think the public education is very important. Something in the newspaper as we pass these laws, so there's going to be nobody surprised. I think this is a major, I think could be a major safety concern for a lot of people. Now, having said that, there will be a meeting with the local OPP commander, as a matter of fact, very soon. And I'd like to put this by them as well, because I think the more information we have and the more people we have involved in this, I think there's more chances we're going to get it right. So I think it's a good idea. However, we have to be careful because there's a lot of people not used to a lot of this other units on the road, and they need to be made aware of it. So anything we can do along that regard, I think would be very helpful. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Poplinski. I have a comment to make here about this also, is that this is a recreational vehicle. And in the past, we have engaged the ATV people and the trails people through our recreation committee. And I think Stephanie probably has a very good rapport with certain people in the trails end of it. And we might want to get them involved also in this. So we have all the committees that are involved, not just roads and police, but also recreation. So we may come up with a good bylaw that would address this. I'm just throwing this out there for comment. If anybody's got a comment to make, Councillor Wilmer might want to open up a discussion on that at the recreation end of it. Any comments on that? No. Councillor Wilmer.
I think that's a good idea. I think we should really touch base with as many people as possible who are involved in this. I don't know all that much about these type of vehicles, but certainly we want to ensure the safety of everyone, and we really need to get the people who are knowledgeable involved in giving us the information we require.
Thank you. To you, Kim, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I just want council to be aware that if we do nothing, these vehicles will be legal as of January 1st, 2021. So if council, if committee is recommending to council that further investigation is done into this and discussion with the ATV club and through recreation, then I would suggest that you're doing that because you may have a concern about these vehicles becoming legal, or you may feel there are issues. So just be aware that if council does nothing, it will automatically be the case that these vehicles will be legal as of January 1st, 2021. So, that's all I want to be clear about. We don't have to change our bylaw. The province changed their laws and this will make them legal, unless council wishes to have a discussion and potentially not have these vehicles be added to our list of legally allowed vehicles on our roads.
If we just accept this as information, am I correct that as a status quo, everything is fine at this point? Sure, to you, Kim.
Chair, so as of this point, they would not be allowed until January 1st,
Ah, okay.
2021. But this will automatically happen because the province has changed
Right.
the rules.
Okay,
So if we have a concern about it happening, then we need to investigate further, have discussions. But I'm just being very mindful of the fact that it does create extra work to engage in this. And I have no problem with us doing it, but doing nothing means that they will be legal. We don't have to change our bylaw.
to you, Sue, can you advise me on this, please?
Just wanted to inform council, I did place a call to the clerk in Killu, Haggerty, Richards yesterday, just because of the proximity to our municipality, and they are not changing their bylaw. They have, like us, a bylaw right now that allows for ATVs on the road, and they will just wait for January for the provincial bylaw to come in.
So basically, if we follow suit with Killaloo, we're all right? Is that the case? We just take this as information at this point in time?
I just wanted to inform council.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know if council's got something to say about it or not. We could just accept this as information. So could you read the recommendation for me, please, Sue?
Yes, through the chair, that council and committee recommend to council to accept the off-road vehicle amendment report as information.
And I'll also move that. Anybody and anybody else would like to second that, please? Kim, to you, seconded. And any further discussion on that? To you, Councilor Poplinski?
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chair. I think that I agree that, if we don't do anything, it's going to be made into law. But I think that this is a great opportunity for us to engage the ATV groups. And as they say, I think we need, in the interest of safety, and I really do feel that this could cause a major problem, and we could have a lot of people badly injured. And certainly we can't expect the Ontario government to do all the advertising for us to warn people. I think we need to take control of this situation as much as we can. So I would be more than happy to take the extra time and have some more conversation about this and engage the people so it's done in such a manner. This is a major, major event that's happening here. And I can see many, many more people coming up to the area and using the area, the trails, the roads. And I just don't think we should kick it down the road till January and let them have, just because they do something in Killaloo. I'd like to think that we represent our people here and the best interest of all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ernie. To you, Sue?
Yes, I just want clarity on the engagement of the involving the groups, the ATV groups. I think it's a good idea to possibly get them to assist us in the messaging and the public education portion. So I do see that, they are more aware as to what the hazards might be. And is that what I just want clarity when we're saying to engage the groups. Is that where we see the importance? That's what I'm hearing, and I just want to make sure that we're following the right action item.
I believe so. To you, Kim?
Okay, thank you, Chair. I guess that's why I said I would like us to inform the ATV clubs that council, if council's decision is to allow these vehicles come January 1st, just so they're aware that until January 1st, those vehicles aren't allowed, but at that point they would be. And that they would be, this is adding to the ATVs and the side-by-sides that are already allowed to use our roads in Madawaska Valley. So there's already a vast number of other types of ATVs that are allowed and legal to use the roads. If there are safety issues with that usage of the roads, then that's a completely different matter to what we're talking about here. We're talking here about adding a couple of categories of vehicles that aren't normally on the road, such as dirt bikes, and then these rather unusual ones with the big rubber tires. But we already allow ATVs and side-by-sides, and there's 3 or 4 different categories. The material in here actually identifies them. So if there's a safety concern, then I have no concern with there being a meeting arranged with the club. But in terms of allowing these vehicles, I don't I don't see where, if there's a problem, there's a problem. If there isn't, then adding these two categories of vehicles shouldn't make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you. And I agree with Ernie on this one. We're in unknown territory here. We have dirt bikes going along the side of the road and larger vehicles that block off the traffic. And we do need maybe police input on this and the ATV clubs involved. So I would suggest we address this as a meeting of the minds, so to speak. But for this particular resolution, I'd just like to know if there's any further conversation on it so we can get through it. If there isn't, I would like to call the vote on that, please. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. I'll leave that up to Mark Wilmer to possibly get in touch with Stephanie on that and see what the ATV people got to say. And then Ernie will probably address it through the CPAC people and get their input on it. And it's bigger. This is bigger than just allowing a couple of vehicles to go down the road. So I think that's a good conversation to be had. I'd like to continue, if I could, please, with 5.1.3, and that's County Road 62 parking. And we have a recommendation there that I'll get Sue to read, but I would like maybe Hillary just to go over the page 43 to 45 and give his report to us on this, please, just to enlighten us on where we stand on the parking situation. Thank you, Hillary.
This was impeccable timing, this request from Ernie, Councillor Ernie, because we got wind that the 4 road was scheduled for 2022, and Councillor Bromwich will speak to that for Head and Shoulders. So Councillor Ernie requested I petition the county through council for possible widening right across almost at the 4 road, but it's not. It's up at I don't know what the name of that restaurant is, and your Hargraves Lane. And we met on the Thursday, and they requested that we forward a simple resolution requesting that the township conducts construction work for increased shoulders. So then the resolution reads as follows: recommends the council the request be made to the county, but so Renfrew advising the municipality seeking permission from the county of Renfrew to add parking along County Road 62 north side. I tried to get it capture the where it is north side from Hargraves Lane in an easterly direction. And Carl will forward his comments to the committee at this point about the 4 road.
So thank you very much, Hillary. We have a simple recommendation here that I will let Sue read for us. And as you say, we had a meeting of the kind down there. It was very well done. It was perfect timing for both issues. And they were, and this is basically their advice to us, is to have council and committee recommend to them at Renfrew County for the to add parking. So I'll get, if there's any, I'll get Sue to read the recommendation, then we can discuss it if that's all right. So if you wouldn't mind.
Through the chair, that council and committee recommends to council that requests be made to the county of Renfrew advising the municipality is seeking permission from the county of Renfrew to add parking along County Road 62 north side from Hargreaves Lane in an easterly direction.
And also pass that one, please. Move that one. And seconded, please. And to you, Ernie, seconder. Now, any discussion on this? To you, Ernie, thank you.
Yeah, I just want to mention, Hillary, you're very humble. Actually, you're the one that suggested this back in October when we had the issue down at the concession there. That was identified as one of the really good options, and I have to give you credit for doing that and also for carrying the ball on this. But the other thing was that when I drove by there yesterday, things worked very quickly because I noticed the county had workers down there and they've already cleaned probably half of the brush along that section. So whatever is left for the township to do, it's going to be an easy job because maybe others have also witnessed that. But anyway, they got the message because they were there yesterday. So thank you.
To you, Mayor Love.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So if there was brushing, I'm sorry to let you know that was just normal maintenance work. This recommendation from our council will have to go to the Operations Committee at the County of Renfrew, and they will discuss it and make a decision as to whether or not, based on their staff's recommendation, whether or not they would approve this additional parking. So sorry, I'm sorry to pull a little bit of the rug out from under that. You know, it is great that they were doing additional brushing, but I think that's regular maintenance. Council needs to be aware that if we were to move forward with this, we need to identify very clearly who's going to be paying for this. Does council expect to be paying for the work that will need to be done? The county will be deciding, their staff will decide what work that is, and they will let us know, obviously. Or is our expectation that the County of Renfrew will be paying for this work? We need to be very clear on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this? Yeah, I don't see any. Could I please have a vote on it? All in favor? 1, 2, and that's passed. Thank you very much. That ends my report. I have a verbal when it comes to unfinished business. To you, Mayor Love?
Sorry, Chair, we do need to be very clear as to who we expect to pay for that work.
Right.
The county will be asking that question. If the municipality is prepared to pay for the work, then that might shine a different light on this in terms of how the Operations Committee will consider it. But if our expectation is that the County of Renfrew is going to pay for that work, then the Operations Committee has to consider that as a factor in their budgeting process for next year. So that's why I'm being very clear that we need to be clear about what our expectation is.
Do you think when they discuss this at Renfrew County, through you, Mayor, that that will be their main discussion as to who is going to be paying for this work? So that would be coming back to us in the form of a recommendation from Renfrew County, do you think, or at least their advice? Is that what we're saying here? Because we understand that somebody has to pay for it. So do you think when it goes to county, they think that they'll come back and say, okay, this is who's going to pay for it? To you, Kim.
I think that if we don't make it clear what our expectation is, that will be the first thing that comes back, and it may delay them being able to make a decision because they'll want to verify whether or not our expectation is that they're going to pay for it. So I just am trying to facilitate this being a little bit quicker. Does council anticipate that we will pay for this?
That's a good question. To you, Ernie?
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chair. I think what I would suggest is that if Mr. Koshkowski could visit the site, especially after yesterday when, like I said, probably half or more of that brush has already been taken away. So there's going to be a very small amount because right at the back of this is the area where the hydro have actually brushed as well. So it actually at one time there was brush right up to the fence. Now that's all gone. There's a very small strip that was left by the highways. That would be perhaps in, so it's very, very small amount. And I think Mr. Koshkowski would see that. And if you want to, I'm certainly prepared to suggest that the amount would be very small. And I think that it should be looked at before, if somebody's concerned about all this money that we're going to be spending.
To you, Mayor?
Might I suggest that we ask the committee if they would approve the project, that they provide us, that their staff provide us with a list of what would be required then. If we're not going to be clear from the get-go who's going to pay, then I would suggest that it's super important that we identify that we need to know what it is they would expect the municipality to do, because I would suggest it will come back that they will expect that if we want it, that we will pay for it. So I'd like to see a list of what would be entailed And that would be something that the County of Renfrew staff would identify in terms of addressing their safety issues and any other concerns they might have. So perhaps like we could ask that our staff send the resolution forward as is, but contact staff and get them to identify, as they were out at the site, so they have seen it, get them to identify in writing back to Mr. Koshkowski what would be their expectations of what would be done in order to meet their requirement for it to be safe. At that point, we can then look at what that cost would be and what work would be entailed. And we could then we could make the decision about yes or no, are we prepared to pay for it? And then we could forward that information to the operations committee for that decision. This could happen fairly quickly.
Would be a direction to staff to follow through with that point in mind. I would
Yes.
just like to say there was one other issue came up here while we were at the site visit with regard to the people that were involved from county, that there was a slight problem with sighting. The sighting of the road, the way it curves around for exit and entering the parking area suggested. So that might come up to be an issue. But in the meantime, we'll just stick with this as far as asking about who would be responsible for payment and direction of staff to do that. Is that all we need, Jim, do you think? To you, Kim, yeah.
I guess what I'm suggesting is before we make a decision about the municipality paying, or if we're asking the county to pay, that we just get a list of what the work would be that would be required by the County of Renfrew. And as Councillor Foplinski says, it may be very nominal, in which case it will not have a major impact, but we need to know what their expectation would be, their staff's expectation would be to meet the county's requirements for safety and to add this. If we can tick that box, then if this goes forward at that point to the operations committee, the committee itself will probably feel more confident making a decision on behalf of the municipality that is favorable. They're going to want to know that the safety issues are addressed, if there are any, and that we're prepared to pay. So I think if we could have that interaction between our staff and county staff and get that information and bring it back to our council, that would be very helpful.
So we'll withhold this recommendation to forward to county until such time as that's proposed. Is that the case?
I don't think that we couldn't just do that for the next meeting without any problem.
Is that okay, Sue? Is that the way it should go then? Yeah.
Yes, I agree. The resolution won't have to be held up. Like at the next meeting, we'll forward all that to the County of Renfrew. And by then, Hillary will have spoken to their public works, just so that we have an outline of the required works. I don't think that should hold anything up.
Okay, I think we're all on the same page here. Yeah. So, excuse me. So that's finished with. I guess I can leave that on the table with you folks. And that would be the end of my discussion, my report. To you, Sue.
Chair, we also have correspondence. There was an email that I dated August 16th under 5.2.1. 5.2.1.
It's a large file here. I'm just going to go through it at 47 to 91. Bear with me here if you wouldn't mind. This is Ontario Cycling Strategy from email from Lynn Yanta. I'll just read that if I could. To you,
Carl?
Yes. Yes, sir.
You were going to do a verbal update on the 4 road.
That's coming after this.
Sorry.
That's okay. Hold on a second. I'm just getting my paperwork together here at home. Okay. So this was addressed to you, Sue. Do you want to read it or do you want me to read it?
I can read it. It was just an email from Ms. Yantha. Can you have a look at the attached document, which I'm sure you have seen? I'd really love to see an improvement in biking opportunities in Madawaska Valley Township. I see that bicycle lanes have been added in the most recent paving out at Koshkowski, which is wonderful, also because they have a lot of foot traffic out there normally. I'm also going to talk to our county, but I'm really hoping that we will see some improvement in the biking. As you know, quite a few locals ride their bicycles, and of course, it's a big trend right now in tourism as well. In a lot of places, it's really unsafe riding your bicycle along the side of the highway roads. Most of the motorists are pretty good, some are not, and quite often the drop off from the edge of the pavement to the gravel is quite significant and would be horrible if one was on the light road bike. So if you can give me some feedback on this, and I'm really interested to hear if our municipality has some plans coming up that correlate with this statement from the provincial government. I hope you guys are doing well and take care. Please.
Thank you. This has come up year after year, and this is the new strategy for Cycle Ontario. And the biggest issue here with regards to, and I think we call this active transportation, biggest issue here is who pays for it. It always has been that question, and it always comes down to the municipality has to make sure that they have enough money in their budget to do additional lanes for biking. It would be beautiful to have bike lanes on every single road in the county, but the realistic part of it is we're just trying to maintain our roads is a big deal, and we do our best to oblige when we're doing a new project, such as down at the Teshubi Road. So I would just take this as information if we could, and I don't know if anybody wants to make any kind of recommendations on this. Do you, Sue?
I don't believe a recommendation, but I would like to possibly just respond with some of the things that we've already done. I think as Hillary has stated, it was very timely that we've had the discussion about the widened surface on the road. When we had the discussion about the strategic plan, we did say that whenever looking at some new roads, we would consider widened shoulders, hardened shoulders when possible. And that we are looking at, there is some active transportation funding that is coming through, may not be for roads, but we may be able to look at what may be feasible in our walking trails, which many use for bicycling as well.
I have more to say on this in a few minutes, but to you, Ernie?
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chair. I think it's a great report. I've read it, and of course, we have discussed this topic before, and I think we should acknowledge Mrs. Yantha's letter and the fact that, perhaps we can engage others in this endeavor. But I think that, in talking about it before, when we talk about the active transportation, it'd be great if we could get, if there's any grants available, to use it in conjunction with other road work being done, because the time to do it is, the old Barry's Bay Road is a very good example. There was a need for it, but it was also, we were able to work it in that one section. To go back and bring crews in to work the shoulders once the road has been done, it's not easy. So I think it should be in our more of a longer plan, but it should be definitely not thrown and put on a shelf someplace. I think it is something that we need working forward with our Economic Development Committee. And I just feel it's long overdue, but Chair, you've mentioned about many of the roads are still not up to the standards that we would expect, to go out and do bicycle lanes when we've got roads where there's no place for people to walk is I think not the proper way of dealing with it. But I think it's all important. I think we should use this report going forward and engage others as we do so, and hopefully we can achieve it all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. To you, Mark?
Yeah, I agree. It's a good report, but I think what we should keep in mind is with future construction. I mean, it's as you mentioned, Chair, it's very difficult to find the money to make everything right away. But anytime we do new construction, I think it's really important that we keep in mind the needs of pedestrians and cyclists. And if we are able to get the funding available for some of these projects, we should make sure that that is one of the priorities of any rebuild.
Thank you, Mark. Anybody else like to comment on this? As I say, I have a little more information to give in a few seconds here on this, might help expand on it. So we'll just take this information as information then, Sue?
Yes, I have an action item to respond.
Okay. So can I move on to unfinished business then, do you think? I'll give my verbal report on the full road that followed up from the parking on 62. And on last Thursday, Mayor Kimlove, myself, Mayor Peckett, Chair of Operations for County of Renfrew, Lee Perkins, Director of Public Works for the County of Renfrew, Mike Beam, County of Renfrew, Mike Phillips, Operations Supervisor, and Hillary Koshkowski, Operations Manager, went for a site visit down to Defoe Road. And it was a great meeting. It was excellent timing. It was all good. And Renfrew County outlined their strategy for their roads in Renfrew County. And they have a hardened shoulders agenda coming through all their road work. They're hardening the shoulders of the roads to try and save the pavement, especially for winter maintenance. So Defoe Road, they suggested that we do a hardened shoulder on Defoe Road. And they already have it on their budget. That's on their roads needs report, which is a 10-year report, not like our 5-year report. And the funny thing is, we went down there about 7.5 to 8 years ago with the original suggestion to widen that road for pedestrian traffic. And the Mayor Peckett and Lee Perkins were saying, it takes about 10 years for this to get through the mix at county. It takes about 10 years for a suggestion to get realistic and budgeted for, and it is 10 years because this will happen in 2022. The 2021 work from to Lower Craigmount Road from Highway 62 is going to be hardened shoulders in 2021, and then they're going to do, is that right, Hillary? I think hardened shoulders from Craigmount, or was they going to repave it?
No, 2021 goes from Defoe Road up
to Craigmount.
Yeah, well, Craigmont, yes, I believe so. And 2022 is from County Road 62 to Defoe Road.
There you go. So that's when it's going to be done, 2022. And the budget has been made. They have the money set aside for it. And their whole idea is to save the roads by hardening the shoulders, which allows that road to be more stabilized for people to walk. And I think that would be the walking area that we could use on both sides. They're going to be doing both sides of the road. So it was a timely meeting and it was well received. So to you, Mayor Love, if you can add to that.
Thank you, Chair. So the county did make us aware there are some spots there that are very narrow, and they will not be able to widen those necessarily, but they will do their best to harden the shoulders because it is an issue that piece of road, that stretch from County Road 62 to Lower Craigmont is an area where a significant number of heavy trucks do come along there. And so this is the county's approach to ensuring that the road will survive longer. And it also at the same time does offer us hardened shoulders that are more amenable to our pedestrians and our cyclists. So council just needs to be aware that they will do the best they can, but there are some challenging areas where they will not necessarily get the full width that they would normally want to get in a widened shoulder.
Thank you very much. Sue, you said you had an action item here to talk about or no?
No.
I'm finished then?
Mm-hmm. Yes, you are.
I'm out of here. I'll pass it over to Kim then. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chair Bromwich. And our next committee is Operations, Water, Wastewater, and Facilities. And I'm going to turn it over to Chair Schulist. Thank you, Chair Schulist.
Hey, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm hoping that Ashley will connect because our first item is our Ontario Clean Water Agency Performance Report, and it's the second quarter, and that's bullet point 6.1.1, and you'll find it on pages 93 to 101. So, hello, Ashley. Can you give us a report? I can't hear you because you've got your mic muted.
How's that? Is that any better?
That is absolutely perfect. So
okay,
let's hear your report, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having us today. Scott is going to go through the performance report, and I'm going to carry on with the the letter from the MECP, as well as some water meter updates.
Okay, I can speak to the performance report. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good. So this is the performance report from the second quarter. So there was a couple issues in the second quarter. We've talked about them at previous council meetings with the non-compliances in Barry's Bay with phosphorus. So they're outlined in this report under the compliance excellence section. I'd like to draw your attention to a couple changes I've made in the formats of the report. That in the flows page where we have the drinking water flows and the wastewater treatment flows, I added a 5-year average for each month. It's just a dotted line there, and that's just so that at a glance you can see easily what the flows this year are compared to the last 5 years on average in that month as well. So hopefully that adds to the report and helps when you're reading it, it means a little bit more to you. I also added under the asset protection section of the report, I added a little graph on each side, which because we break out our work into three kind of three categories. We have preventative maintenance, which would be anything that comes out as a PM for the guys to do. It's on our preventative maintenance program. Operational maintenance would be things such as doing rounds at the plants and taking samples. And then our corrective maintenance is if something was to fail and we have to then go back and fix it. So by breaking it up like this, I'm able to kind of, and us at Aqua, we use this to kind of keep track of making sure that we are looking after things preventatively and we're on the ball and not reacting to things breaking as much as we can. So that graph should just, hopefully we keep the corrective maintenance down and the preventative maintenance will be the bigger bar for us. It was there, and then after that we go through some of our maintenance activities and community complaints that were through the quarter. Is there any questions with the report?
Yeah, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Chair. So I have a question about the health and safety items. It's about 3 pages in. It's called page 1, but the next page is also page 1. So I wanted to know about the catwalks installed around the SBR to provide access to valves. I'm not aware of that project. I've forgotten about it perhaps, but could you explain what that is?
This is an ongoing project from, it's kind of been on the wish list for many years. It's in the SBR after the soil was removed from the wall facing the park. It's left that wall bare, and the only way to access the valves and the pumps that are on that side of the SBR, there is just a very narrow cement wall that isn't safe to walk on. So there's two areas where there's openings where there should gates and openings where there used to be land there, and now it's just a drop off. Okay, Scott, I think it maybe my misunderstanding is having the status say ongoing. That said to me it was happening. This isn't happening right now, correct? Well, okay. I believe it was sent out for funding, and that didn't work out, but we don't know. But these things are still like on our list of things that we still need to track. We can't just forget about safety issues because, Okay, no, that's fine. It was my when I read it, I took ongoing to mean that was actually happening. And I know that we haven't committed the funds for that. So that's why I was asking, but in the future, I will understand that ongoing means that it's an issue that hasn't been resolved. It was my interpretation. Okay, that's great. And I had one other question, and I might as well finish and then see if anyone else has a question. But it's and I'm going to try to figure out what page.
It says it's page 3, and it refers to one of the complaints and service requests. It says the color was caused by the building sprinkler flow test. So I'm just wondering if there's a color issue in water because a sprinkler flow test is done. Is this a situation where perhaps there should be some sort of protection between the sprinkler system and the water, the drinking water in the building? Like,
Yeah,
why
backflow.
interact?
Backflow prevention, yeah. And we were working with the department with that building in particular, and our concerns were completely for the town's water. You know, at first when we heard that there was color in the water, we investigated like any other color complaint. But then once we discovered that it was internal to the building and they had color within there, then that's why right away we moved to taking samples from our water in the system out on the road and made sure that there was no contamination that way. And that's why the backflow preventers on buildings are so important. But this incident was contained to that building.
Oh, okay, so there's no chance that this could cross-contaminate our drinking water system?
No.
Okay.
Not in this case, no.
Okay, so I'm just wondering if I think that this building is a building that is Renfrew County Housing Corporation. I'm wondering if you
Correct.
could please, is there some way Aqua could send a letter suggesting a backflow protector be put in place? Because within the building, I would hate as a member of the board for the Renfrew County Housing Corporation to see that there was a backflow situation within the building where the drinking water was affected. That would concern me as a member of the board, and I would want to install, to suggest to the board that we install that backflow prevention.
Yeah. Well, we can follow up on and give a report on that.
If you wouldn't mind, just so that Renfrew County Housing Corporation's board is aware that this incident occurred, because I'm aware from reading your report, but I just want to make sure they're aware and can address the situation.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I definitely agree with Madam Mayor. It's very, very important. I do like your, your report here, how it's displayed. I have just one question here. It's on page 94 under wastewater. And it says wastewater regulations requirements. Now, on the first quarter, it says that it's positive and on target. And then on the second quarter, results are off target and action is required. Should we be concerned?
Yeah, that was because of the non-compliances that we had 2, I believe. One was phosphorus in April and phosphorus again in June. We've come and give reports both on those incidences and reported to the MOE. So this is just to reflect that there was compliance issues in the second quarter. But now that we are in August of the third quarter, things are working are doing well, and we've met objectives, and well, beyond just meeting our compliance limits, we've met our objectives for August.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Anybody else, any other councillor have any questions for these gentlemen? Yes, Councillor Poplinski.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I'm just wondering if when I look on the report here of the complaints and service, and I noticed that we had the situation that you mentioned in April the 15th over at 75 Stafford. The following day, there was an issue at 85 Bay Street. Is that related because of the backflow that could have happened at 75?
I don't believe the two were related because of the sampling that was taken on the 15th and the testing that we did that day. I don't believe they were related incidents, no.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Seeing none, maybe Sue, you could read out the recommendation. I cannot hear you. You're muted.
I am, thank you. that council and committee accept the Ontario Clean Water Agency Performance Report, second quarter 2020 as information.
I will move. And anyone second? Mayor Love seconds it. Any further discussions? Seeing none, that is passed. Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen. Job well done. Yes, Madam Mayor.
Sorry, Chair, could we take a vote?
Oh,
we
all
vote
in
on it?
favor?
Thank you.
Yes. All in favor? Okay, sounds good. Thanks,
Thank you.
Madam Mayor. Okay, now and thank you very much, gentlemen. Again, there is some correspondence here. Maybe you guys can talk on it. There's a letter from the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks, August 4th, 2020. Who wants to speak on behalf?
I will, Mr. Schulis. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
On August 1st, they updated the water main disinfection procedure, which that's the procedure we use if we're installing new water main over 4 meters in length. So typically it's new builds and stuff, or we're redoing some infrastructure in the road. The actual procedure doesn't come into place in our municipal license until February of 2021. So currently Aqua is working on updating its procedures to comply with the new regulations. Nothing to be worried about, not a big deal.
Okay, good. Any questions from council? Seeing none. So there's nothing to move on here. Madam Mayor, sorry.
Sorry, Chair. I know how challenging it is to pick up on hands, especially if there's a delay. I just wanted to know if the new disinfection procedure was going to impose any additional costs, and if so, would they be covered under our Aqua contract?
I believe they should be. Typically, it's just the nature of and how many like the Form 1s and Forms 2 that goes back to the MECP in that regard. It's just how much chlorine is in the piping for X amount of time and the amount of samples that have to be taken and cleared prior to it be putting online.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions from anyone? Okay, not seeing any. This is just information for us. We are now at unfinished business. Does anybody have any unfinished business? Yes, Madam CAO.
I'd like to bring 2 updates. One, the water meter Neptune meter installation, where they are at, as well as, if I may, after just a quick arrears update on the wastewater billing. So first off, as it pertains to Neptune's water meter project and installation project, as of yesterday, they are 82% complete with the installation. So there are 496 meters of the 608 that have been installed. That is 2 weeks. They are estimating 2 more weeks to completion based on the appointments that have been booked. There are 56 booked, 51 pending. There have been no, everything that has been canceled is being rescheduled. That puts the projects approximately 2 weeks ahead of schedule. The Deputy Treasurer and Nathan, our summer student, are assisting Neptune by reviewing the list of those accounts to clarify. What they found is many of them were possibly the name of tenants and not the owners. So staff and our student are assisting with the meter installation calls, and they're assisting with their booking their appointment. And they continue to follow up with those remaining 56. Neptune's final notice to the property owners has gone out. The invoicing to date that we have received reflects all meters installed, and the project remains within budget. I had advised council previously that there would be some Aqua involvement possibly required as part of the meter installation. And I wonder if possibly Ashley could comment on how it has gone and the level of involvement you've had to date so far.
Okay, thank you, Sue. In speaking with staff earlier today, 8 to 10 hours of Aqua staff have been entailed so far, which is nothing for 500 and however many services you said. We were quite concerned earlier just with the age of some of the infrastructure and the locations. And I think to date, we've been on site for 3 locates. That has been all. The Neptune has done an excellent job. Like, I'm very impressed.
Yeah, I'm pleased too to see it, progress the way it is, because I know we were worried about this, the COVID-19 situation, all that. Are we going to be on time? And here we're actually ahead of time. So this is all good news. So very good, good report on that. Is there any other unfinished business?
If I may give council an update on the water wastewater billing arrears. So as of August, the end of August, yesterday, the deputy treasurer advised that it was at 97,573.72. That is in comparison to August 31st, 2019, which was 85,939.66. We will put that in an upcoming report with the printouts. I just thought at the last reporting, we didn't have those numbers and we wanted to advise council. Now that is, we figure that the difference is very much so the penalty that has been waived. So we are expecting that now, effective September 1st, everything goes, all the arrears, interest goes back on accounts of arrears and current. And we will now be proceeding with our collection as we have been instructed to do with the tax billing.
Okay, very good. Anything else? I only had one senior moment, so I didn't do too bad, I guess. There's no guarantee in this job. Anyway, listen, thank you very, very much for bringing in some good reports, Scott and Ashley, and for council for seeing the value that these 2 gentlemen bring to our table. Thank you very much.
Thank
You,
you.
Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So that completes our water and wastewater. Our next section of the meeting is fire and protection and emergency management, and I'm going to turn it over to Chair Poplinski.
Thank you, Mayor Love. In pages 105 to 109, we have item 7.1, and it's municipal reports. And it's the South Hall vehicle updates. And if we could have, I think Corey's with us this morning. So
Yes,
if I could ask our fire chief to enlighten us. Thank you.
Okay, the South Hall rescue van was taken to Thruway. It was out of service from August 20th to August 27th to have the shelving put in place. It is now back in service. It's put in service on Friday. It's back in. It's fully done. So we're finished with that truck. And it's been loaded. It's ready to go for the next call. Attached is the emails I have between myself and Harry Lee, the Thruway president, an owner that shows the price. She's going to go between $3,600 and $3,900 to put the shelves in and replace the nuts and bolts with stainless steel, opposed to the metal bolts against the stainless steel shelving that was in there.
So Corey, can you reassure us that all the work has been done or being done at the current time?
The truck is completed. It is back in service and ready to go from now for the next 30 years, unless we get some other kind of breakdown that's like maintenance wise, but the truck is in service and completed.
So it's currently in service right now as we
It is
speak?
currently in service. It went in Friday, which I believe was, 1 second, I'll tell you the date.
Okay.
The 28th went back into service.
Okay, any comments or questions from other members? Obviously not. Are you hearing me, Corey?
I can hear you.
Okay, so obviously everyone else should be able to. I had no comment when I'd asked for if there's any comments or questions on what you've just presented. So the recommendation that council and committee accept the pumper truck update report as information. Okay, if that's okay, then we'll move on to item 7.12 and pages 111. And it's regarding the surplus equipment. Corey, if you could deal with that.
Okay, over the last month or so, I've been going through the fire hall, checking over things. We've come up with 24 air bottles we replaced that were no longer good to us because they don't match our current MSA ones. We had, I found 50 feet of 2.5-inch holes that will not pass pressure tests. Have been sitting there since I've been here. There's 6 old fire helmets that are just sitting laying around, and there's 2 pairs of fire boots that won't meet standard that I replaced quite some time ago. So I'm just cleaning up the fire halls. And on top of that, the South Hall rescue van replaced in 2020 with a brand new van. The 1996 GMC Top Kick is now taken into service. It's no longer needed. For the fire department, I'd asked council committee to deem the vehicle surplus and tender its sale. And same with the items, the air bottles, the hose, the helmets, and the boots also deemed as surplus and put out for tender for sale.
Hillary, or I'm sorry, Corey, could you enlighten us how you're going to sell something that doesn't meet the current inspections?
They're not for fire standard, but like say a person wanted to get the hose for, you know, water in their gardens or whatever, a normal water pump, it won't meet the pressure test, but you can use it for that kind of thing. Some people collect helmets or fire memorabilia just for sake of having it. So that's what I'm saying, it's supposed to throw it in the landfill, see if we get a couple dollars for this stuff. So that's the reason I'm deeming it a surplus. And the MSA bottles we have with the bottles, we replaced the carbon fiber with Scots, so we can't mix the 2 brands together. So that's the reason we've got the 24 extra bottles out of there from the carbon fiber ones.
Are there any other questions from other members of council or committee or comments? I hear none, so we'll proceed. And so the record, yes, Mayor Love?
Sorry, I had my hand up, but I wasn't sure you could see.
I didn't see it.
Okay, no, that's fine. I recognize it can be challenging.
Yeah.
I just have a question for staff. It just popped into my mind. We are looking to surplus roads vehicles and a fire vehicle. Do we do anything to remove our logos or to block out our logos on these vehicles when we offer them up for sale? I'm just thinking of one of our fire vehicles being out there, being sold to someone else with all our logos on it. So that's my question.
Very good question. Corey, would you like to answer that?
That's generally the practice, to either get blacked out with paint or they get removed wherever is easier or cheapest. But yeah, they will have our names removed from it, so there's no way identifiable way to combat the township for liability or something does something to do with it. But yeah, we do remove that stuff as far as I've done from in the past in other places.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Having none, we can move to the recommendation. The council and committee deems the South Hall service van and the miscellaneous fire equipment, 24 air bottles, 50 feet of 2.5-inch hose, 6 fire helmets, 2 pairs of boots as surplus, and direct staff to advertise the sale. Now, I believe that we will need a motion on that. And I'm prepared to make the motion.
Seconder?
Do we have a seconder?
I see Councillor Bromwich and Mayor Love with their hand up. I don't believe there's.
No, I don't see any of them. So
Okay.
I'm not, it's hard to respond to somebody's hand if I can't see them. So
I will second it.
okay, now I can see you. Thank you. Okay, so we have a seconder. Any further comments? Questions? Okay, the motion's carried.
I do believe, Councillor Bromwich, you'll have to speak. I see your hand is up, but if you don't speak, I don't think the chair can see.
Okay.
I don't see them at all.
Yeah, can you see me now?
Now I
No.
see it.
Okay, I just gonna question, there's a fire vehicle that could be surplus that's been sitting in yard too. Is there any word on the licensing of that yet so that we can get rid of it, Mr. Quaid? That's the fire truck from Asphodel that we've been, I don't want to bring up anything that's questionable here, but it's been sitting there for quite a while. And I think we're waiting for identification on it so we can get that as a surplus item. Is there any movement on that?
Last I heard, Councillor Bromwich we're waiting for the lawyer, or decided with the lawyer, because we had to wait so many years, or if the time was for him to say that his bankruptcy was completed and he can't come back.
Oh, okay.
So I talked to the MTO. There was no liens against the last time I got the thing ran. I think that was last fall, I believe I ran that. So sort of, I understand you're saying we're trying to figure that out, but I'll look into it a little further and get you an answer for the next council meeting, if that's okay.
Right, that's great. Thank you. Just wondering.
Any further comments or questions? Okay. Were we okay with that?
Vote.
Okay, so now, okay, I see Mark. Yes, Mark, have you got your hand up?
Well, I was just going to say we haven't voted on this.
Okay.
We had a mover and a seconder.
Oh, I was trying to find out whether we had, because I
Okay.
can't see people, so we're trying to just verify, and then if I lose you again, it's not because I'm ignoring you. I just, I can only go by what I see here. So you may have to speak up if you're also raising your hand. You're good now. I see you now. So, so if we're all in favor, then we'll take another vote. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I can see Mark. That's all I can see.
Okay, I'm in favor.
See Mayor Love, Mark.
I'm in favor.
Okay. Everybody
Carl's
else?
in
good?
favor?
Okay,
All in favor.
motion's carried. Okay, we've got 7.13, and Corey, this is dealing with the school and vulnerable occupancy evacuation during the pandemic. If you could speak to us about that.
Okay, now the school will be going to reopen, and that was brought up then is I talked to the heads of the vulnerable occupancies in this township, including the hospital, the senior centers. We had evacuation plans where everybody be moved possibly into one area. Now with the COVID-19 issue, we can't do that because of the distance we have to keep. So I've spoken to the school boards. They have a contingency plan to keep their students separated in continuity for if there is an evacuation, either the high school or the public schools. The hospital has also got that plan in place, and so do the seniors' homes and the community living buildings. They all have a contingency plan. So we do have a thing to keep everybody separate. If we do ever have a major emergency that we have to evacuate, that is all in place, and they have a policy written for us. So we're good to go. Just to get with the school year open, we want to make sure everybody knows if there was an evacuation to the public, we do have a plan with the school boards to be able to keep everybody safe and have continuity of everybody and do proper evacuations. Unlike before, where we had every one group, we have it all split up, but do we know what we're doing?
Is there any questions or comments from committee?
Nope.
No.
No comments?
No
Okay.
comments.
Okay. So my question, Hillary, in relation to that, or Corey, is the PJY, is that going to be, do you know, manned in the event of there was a situation? Because it's so close there, and if that was needed, is that something that's
That'd be one of the buildings we'd use, because before the schools would use the school, the Paul J. Koshkowski Center would be the main place before, due to the evacuation, but because of a large number of students, we'll have to use more than one building now. So that's to say they have certain grades that go to there. They'll have other buildings in the township with they made agreements with to use the other buildings during an evacuation, but that's the main one first of all. If we can get the, depending on the amount of people, depending on whether the ice surface is in or not, we have designated areas where you can split from upstairs to downstairs. They have that all in place. So that's part of it, Councillor Poplinski.
Thank you. So if there's no further comments, then we'll receive that as information. And we can move on to items 714, and it's the dry hydrant installations, pages 115 to 116 in your package. And Corey, once again, if I could get you to speak on this.
Okay, the new developments that are coming into the township are in Bark Lake, Little Bark Bay, Little Bark Bay. The development, there's Chippewa development, and there's Lakewoods. For the part of the development, the plans were to have a dry hydrant installed. Sites have been approved in those 3 locations. There's going to be a cistern tank installed at Lakewoods with a dry hydrant coming out of it at the corner of Big Bear Trail and Lakewoods Drive. That's been given to Yanta's trucking to install, which will be mid-September. The Chippewa development is going to be installed at Green Lake. It is been installed. Zircon has been hired by the developer to install that late September, early October. Then Little Bark Bay is going to be the dry hydrant's been approved with 75 feet off Siberia Road at the bottom of the hill just before McMaster Lane. It's on township road allowance along the lake. It's been approved. The developer is going to pay for all the hydrants, and it will be installed, let's say, mid-September to mid-October by Zircons. Also, all these hydrants will not be a cent be spent by the taxpayer, by the developers, completely paid for the total cost. So we're just going to be enhancing our fire suppression tanks that the developers installing. Like I say, taxpayers aren't paying 1 cent for this. That way, when those other 3 are installed, that will bring the total amount of hydrants into the dry hydrants into the township to 6. So we're getting pretty good with the locations and proper access for water throughout the township for taxpayers.
Okay, any comments from committee on this or questions? Once again, I cannot see anyone else other than Corey. So,
Councillor Poplinski, I'm wondering if you can turn on your gallery view so you can see us. There should be. Are you on a laptop?
I'm on the little iPad.
Okay, maybe Councillor Wilmer, do you know where the gallery view is on an iPad? it would make it so much easier for you if you could see us.
It's on the left-hand side up towards the top. It says switch, or sorry, it says switch camera. It should be right beneath the leave sign in red. If you touch the screen, you'll see a switch camera. Or that's actually, maybe that's not it, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know whether that's doing.
Do you have these problems?
Yeah, I'm not sure where to go from here.
Okay, Gwen, I don't know, Gwen, if you could, do you have an idea where Councillor Poplinski could turn on his gallery view? Because he can't see us and it makes it almost impossible to chair if he can't see us.
You want me to help you?
On my screen, I'm sorry, on my screen I have, it's on the top right-hand corner. And
Okay.
it's there's a speaker view and then there's a square with where it says enter full screen. If you press on either one of those, you should get a lineup of people either on top of you or with squares that you can see. I removed all staff from the meeting so that it minimizes the people that are in the meeting.
Okay.
I can help there.
No, it just
I can help you there.
no. Okay, it says participants up here. But it's just mentioning the names of the people that are participating at the meeting.
I know what to do.
Okay. Gwen, on the right-hand side up
Okay,
at the top.
okay,
or-
just okay, I see there's something here. Just there we go. Now we're in business.
Can you see us now?
Hello, hallelujah.
Excellent. Okay, that's going to make it so much easier for you. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I mean, I can understand the struggle if you can't see us. Thank you.
Okay, so where are we now? So we're talking about the dry hydrants. And I was asking if there was any questions from the committee or comments. So the floor is open. So I see Mayor Love nodding her head.
No, I'm good. It's excellent. I'm glad it's getting
Oh,
done.
were you, you had your hand up there? No? Okay, yes, Madam CAO.
Just wanted to add for clarification, if you recall, and the reason we're referencing in the report that there was one tender, it's because the municipality under the procurement bylaw had to tender for the one at Lakewoods because it was being installed under default and using a performance guarantee. The other developers, they retain their own installers for those hydrants as long as they follow the recommendations of the fire chief and the requirements of the operations manager, just for clarification.
My only question actually would be where it mentions that the services of Zircon was retained by the developer. And in light of what this whole situation involves, is that the way that it should be written up? Because really the township was obligated, I guess, to do that. So I'm just wondering if you may answer, CAO.
Yes, so the developers are always, it's always at their cost. So it is the developer that has to retain the installer.
Even considering the current financial situation?
No, the one at Lakewoods, that was retained by tender through the municipality.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Any other comments from anyone on committee?
No.
Okay. Having none, then Corey, and if there's nothing further than from your perspective on that particular item, then we'll move on. And the recommendation just to accept as information, so we don't need a motion on that. So now we're dealing with correspondence 7.21. The in pages 117 to 118 in your package, the Ministry of the Attorney General, and regarding the COVID, and I believe that's yours as well, Corey.
That's the one with the search words, I believe. Okay, August 5th, 2020. Municipal administrative officers, please distribute to municipal officers. What it is they've changed the Economic Recovery Act. It's to make that a municipal bylaw officer doesn't have to go into a courthouse to get a search warrant. If he has, they can do it over the computer. So virtual, so they don't have to show in that courthouse. You used to have to walk in front of a justice of peace or a chief justice to get a search warrant done if something's required. They just amended that so we could do it over a computer virtually as opposed to in person. That's all that pretty much states. For us to ever have actually execute a search warrant be very slim. So it's more information, just an amendment to the, like I said, the Bill 197.
Good. Any comments or questions by committee on this item? Okay, we'll accept it as information. And we've got 7.22. It's a letter from the Ministry of Transportation Safety Program, and 119 to 121. And it's regarding the school bus stop arm camera programs. Are there any comments or questions about that? No. once again, having no questions or comments, we will accept it as information. And unfinished business, I have nothing from here. So if there's some questions from anyone or something else that we perhaps have left dangling, please speak up. I'm sorry if I wasn't able to recognize you when you had your hands up. It's just that my malfunction or my lack of knowing how to turn on this other a bit of the program is obviously my fault, but anyway, now I can see everyone, so we're back in business. So we're all good?
Yeah.
Yep.
Good.
I don't believe that we have any other recommendations. I think we've dealt with them. So if I could hand the gavel back to the mayor.
Thank you, Chair Pawlinski. I'd
you.
just like to check with council. You may want to, at the very least, take a short break, or would you prefer to take a lunch break? We still have a fair amount of our agenda to go through, and it's 11:55. So I'm just sort of seeking some direction in terms of whether or not you would like to be taking like just a short break and continue, or whether you would like to take lunch. Councillor Pawlinski.
Yes, I would suggest that we take a lunch break right now, whatever adequate for, I'm at home, so I can quickly grab something, but I don't know if others are similar. Obviously, it looks that way. But
So could I suggest we take a lunch break and we come back at 12:30? Would council be amenable to that?
yes,
That's
Second,
good.
someone to so move that we'll take a lunch break. Moved by Councillor Wilmer, seconded by Councillor Pawlinski. All those in favor? And that's carried. We will take a break until 12:30 and we will come back